Hello, hello. I think I'm on. I think it's going. I think you guys can hear me. Okay, I think we're going. What's going on, guys? Sorry, my lighting is a little bit terrible right now, but hopefully you can see me. It looks to be okay. All right, let's go ahead and get started. If you guys don't know who I am Paul David. I own a company called Identified Talent Solutions. We are in the staffing and recruiting industry. We primarily work with healthcare technology, so we do a wide scale like implementations on EHR, EMR, like that's electronic record management systems through all the different hospitals across the United States. And we also do primarily healthcare staffing. So that's us. Some of our accolades. Geez, I think most of you guys know me, but for the newer guys, we started in 2012. We've been on the Inc. 500 list. We actually were 334th fastest growing company in the nation, 4-time fastest growing companies from Orange County Business Journal, and we were awarded best companies to work for. Currently, what's my team size right now? Currently, we have about 16 internal employees, and we have about 75 deployed consultants out working for us right now. So that's a little bit about me. Let's go ahead and get started. There's a lot of questions here. I apologize. I was not able to get to a segment last month, but I'm going to go ahead and combine August and September this month, which we have about 20 questions to go over, so I'm going to fire them right away. It's been really busy. I hope you guys are doing really well. On our end, we're about 700% of revenue from when we started, from when COVID hit us. So we are going crazy right now. So that's why I've been a little bit absent in these live sessions, but I am really excited to get back with you guys. So let's go ahead and get started here. Kimberly Vincent has the first question. Her question is, how do I keep my spa manager and would be the purchaser of my spa engaged in my business if I do not decide to sell to her? Okay. I own a spa for the last 3.5 years. It's been a roller coaster ride up and down. I opened it with my son, who is no longer involved. I own another business which takes up a majority of my time. I want to sell the spa. I still have startup debt on the spa business. Currently, I have 2 options. Number 1, my spa manager is interested in buying it from me from an amount that we discussed. I wouldn't be debt free at this price. She just declined buying it on 2 occasions over several months, citing not a good time. She just indicated to me last week that she once again is interested in buying it in the fall or the winter. Second option, a business-oriented family from China is interested in buying my spa and willing to pay almost double my asking price since they can't close until February 2021 at the latest. This option would allow me to walk away debt-free and then some. They're prepared to sign an agreement and send a deposit. As much as I want to sell to my manager, the opportunity to sell and be debt-free is huge for me. My spa manager is aware of the potential buyers. I appreciate my spa manager, don't want to lose her. It's a small spa and she's a big piece of its current growth. Okay, here's where I just try not to get too involved emotionally in business dealings because of these particular situations. If I was in that situation, I mean, if I'm looking at this from the perspective that you have, I'm going to take the one that's more financially lucrative because that's basically why I started the business. Obviously, there's a humanistic aspect of this, but when I'm looking at your potential situation where you're going to sell to somebody that may or may not buy it at a particular time, and you're not going to clear debt from when you started, I just don't see that as an option that I would take. But if I'm going to make money, if I'm going to make money off the business by selling it in 2021, you walk away debt free, and then you've made some kind of like gain out of it. That's generally where I'm going to choose. So, with that being said, here's common practice, right? I'm going to give you what common practice is and generally what happens in business when there's an acquisition. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the most, humane thing to do, but in a sense, this is the best way to get productivity out of your people while you're going through an acquisition or where you're getting acquired, right? what you basically do is you do not tell any of your employees or your spa manager of the decision that you made until it's absolutely 100% necessary, right? Because one, she doesn't even know if she's going to buy it or not, and two, I think the better option is selling it to the Chinese company, because it's double that they're asking, and you're making money off of it. You're not going to be left with any debt. Anyway, so again, I'm just going to make this really concise for you. You tell your staff, your manager, or whoever's operating your business at that particular time, you delay any kind of talk about the transition or the acquisition until absolutely necessary. So you tell them then, unless you're willing to shoulder the responsibility of the business until you get the transaction done, right? So depending on what you want to do, it's going to be very, very difficult to get productivity out of somebody that's thinking that they're going to acquire a business from you, but then you're going to be selling it to somebody else, right? I mean, it's just going to drop off. So again, the practice is, and that happens with acquisitions all the time. If a company comes over, they delay any kind of announcement of the acquisition until it's absolutely necessary to divulge that to the company. Because what's going to happen is naturally people are going to drop off in their productivity, and then they're going to start looking for work, and then you're going to start seeing this increased attrition that's happening with your company. So again, delaying that information as much as you possibly can until it's necessary to tell them is important. However, again, this is someone that's looks like it's near and dear to your heart. If you do want to tell them, just make sure that you're willing to shoulder the responsibility until that transaction is made in February 2021. Okay, so those are my suggestions for you. Let's see. Next question is by Alana. How do you decide on what to work on when you have millions of ideas? I'm becoming less efficient because I'm so scattered in what I do and what to finish first. I am rebranding my academy, building a secondary company that complements the academy, wanting to start a referral marketing campaign for school, and getting into the cannabis industry. My brain is overloaded and I'm getting nothing done. Well, quite frankly, you got way too much going on here. I mean, if you continue to go down this route of being scattered, it's going to be a disaster. You got way too many things going on. Here's what I suggest. Pick the business that you're actually making money on, or the business that you're most competent in, and be the best that you can be at that particular business, right? You got take that one single business. You had all these ideas that you have, right? And whichever business that you're most competent and that you're actually making money on, work on that business until that business starts generating the income that you want, and get it to a point operationally where you can leave and it's not going to fall apart, right? At this particular point, there's so many different things, and it looks like the main business isn't even propped up enough to survive without your attention. So in order for you to start doing other things, make sure that one single business that is your primary business, make sure that's generating you the income that you want and is stable enough and has operational excellence enough to walk away from it where it's not going to fall apart. Then you'll have time to start doing your other ventures or doing any other thing that can complement the business, right? But again, I mean, if you're running around with all these different things, I mean, that's kind of your first problem. I mean, you know, it's like that old saying. It's like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. You can't just swallow the whole thing. So you want to make sure that you're just pick one thing and get really good at it, and then move to the next. Right? Okay. Next question is from Adam. Adam says, this is a mindset question. How do I organize my attention and time between making small improvements each day, hitting singles, and landing big wins, hitting grand slams? I manage a team of financial advisors, and I'm recruiting more advisors. I own a company. On a daily basis, I'm tweaking my systems, which is adding up to big improvements over time. Also, at any given moment, I'm working on game changer deals, acquisitions, hires, partnerships, of which I may land a few a year. The regular business doubles, triples. I think what you're talking about is these are baseball terminologies. continue to flow in, but obviously I want more. Okay, well, since we're kind of talking in baseball terminology and you're talking about those singles, I mean, those singles will eventually add up to runs. So the thing is that you don't want to get rid of those particular activities. You want to make sure that you maintain those activities, because those are those little activities prop up your business. And then when you see that potential grand slam, or that big, what you call it, game changer deals, then you go for it too. But you have to expect that if you're maintaining all of your like singles and you can't let that go, and you find a big gigantic game changing deal, understand that you're going to be working more, right? So like expect to work more and expect to put more effort, in your day and also at night, because that's the only way that you're going to be able to get this done, right? So from a mindset question, if you want to go bigger, you got to put more effort into it, and you got to put more time into it. And it's not a 9 to 5 kind of thing. Sometimes it's a 14, 15, 16-hour day, right? So that's what if that was my situation, what I tell myself is, if this is what I want, then I'm going to have to put a lot more effort into it. And it might be 12, 13, 14, 15-hour days, 7 days a week. And that's what I did when I started my business. I wanted the small deals and the grand slams, and I'm not going to do it, trying to do it in 8 hours a day. I have to put a lot of effort into it. Okay. Let's see. This is by Gabor. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. What steps can I take to establish my authority with employees and contractors a new business partner has brought on from his own network? All right. Up until a few months ago, our company used to be fully family-owned business, with my parents and I being the 3 owners. Recently, a new partner bought part of the company, and thanks to his resources he's brought in, we're expanding in more directions than before. Part of these resources is staff he's brought in to help deal with our increasing numbers of projects. I'm personally overseeing some of these projects, and the more involved I get, the more I get the feeling of this new staff sees only our new partner as our actual boss. Okay, so hopefully your partner has done a pretty good job on establishing your efficacy and also your authority. I mean, so now that you're in process. Again, what happens is there's going to be a question later on that talks about CRM. Anytime you change anything within a business, change anything without anything, there's always a change management process in there. People just don't like change, right? I mean, that's just human nature. They just don't like change. So you have to manage that particular thing. So one of the ways to manage those things is making sure that your partner makes sure that he establishes your authority with the people that he's bringing in, right? And then after that, you have to make sure that he has your back, because you don't want these people to go into your partner and kind of talk to him because they have their relationship undermining your authority. So you want to make sure that you and your partner are clear that that he has your back, you have his back. So that's number one. After that, when you start to work with your new employees and your new staff, you don't want to just start bossing them around, right? You don't want to just start getting into tasks, right? That's not how people operate. You want to get into a relationship with them. So, you want to start to get to know your crew. I don't know, take them out, do a team bonding thing, have a meeting with them, talk about yourselves and things like that. It's just like you got to get to know these people before you establish trust. And when you do build that relationship with them, then you can then it's a lot easier to start moving down that road where you're the authority figure and making sure that you're holding them accountable. But again, just the really quick short answer to that is really you got to establish that relationship with them first, right? Just like clients, or just like dating, or just like any kind of relationship. You can't just go in there and start telling them what to do. You have to build a relationship with them, and once they establish that trust with you and you establish that trust with them, then it's easier for you it's easier for you guys to work together, right? I think it's kind of a simple concept, but relationships are so important in either management or managing clientele, or just pretty much anything in your life. So I think that's super important. So you got to get that down first, and then once you get that down, and then they understand that you are there to help, and you guys all have a common goal, then you can kind of move forward. I'll leave you with this. It's like it's a quote that always kind of comes into my head when I'm dealing with, with anyone. Actually, it's like people don't know how much, don't care about how much you know unless they know how much you care. So that's kind of what you have to do at this particular process. Okay. Gabor asks the next question again. What routines, habits would you recommend adopting, and at what pace to achieve the success in all areas of life simultaneously? P.S. Is that even possible? In the past couple of years, my absolute focus was on succeeding in my professional life while I was making big steps forward in business. My relationships, connection to my family, personal hobbies all suffered. Now, though, that I have achieved most of the things in my business I have initially set out to achieve, I focus much more on my personal life in the past few months, and I feel really successful on a personal level. The cost of this is that I don't feel successful professionally. Would really appreciate any help on how to move forward in both these areas and feel successful, whether I'm at work or at home. First of all, how you're feeling is more of a kind of what's in your head, right? It's, sometimes we feel like, okay, we're not being really successful professionally, but then that's a lot of times that's in our head. If we look at the numbers in the books and stuff like that, that might paint a different story. So you want to make sure the actual results in your life is lining up with the thoughts that's going on in your head, right? You said, is it possible? I think, is it possible to achieve success in all these areas? Yes, I think it's absolutely possible, and I think it's actually important, right? What I believe is that there's 4 parts of a human being. There's a spiritual, a mental, emotional, and a physical side. It's like 4 tires on a car. If one is not properly inflated, then you're not going to have optimal usage of the car. It's not going to work as effectively as possible. So you have to make sure that those 4 tires are always at the correct, tire pressure and the correct tread to make sure that it's working optimally and the car is working optimally, right? So I use that car sense because, again, there's 4 tires on the car, and I think there's 4 sides of a human being, which, again, is the spiritual, mental, emotional, and mental side. So what I do on a daily basis, and this is something that I would hope that you would consider, is that you want to try to figure out those 4 different sides, right? And make sure that they're inflated properly. And how do you work on that? You work on it every single day. So how do you work on it spiritually? For me, I meditate every morning. It's either 5 to 10 minutes. It's not a lot of time, but it gives me some quiet time to connect to something. I don't know, whatever you believe in. I personally believe in God. So it's time for me to connect with Him, right? Spiritual can be taking a walk, or just being by yourself, or I don't know, it could be reading a book, Emotional could be hanging out with your family. Physical, obviously, is working out, getting active, right? I think a lot of entrepreneurs and just a lot of people in general forget that, if we don't feel good physically, we're not going to be optimal in other areas of our lives, right? It's kind of this weird subconscious. If your body feels good, then you're going to operate a lot better. So it's absolutely 100% important, and it's a must to get that balance. Again, spiritual, mental, physical, and emotional. If all 4 sides are balanced, then you're going to work much more optimally. And you need to figure out a way how you're going to enrich each one of those 4 sides. All right, and you should practice it on a daily basis. Okay, Joe. Hey, Joe. Said hi to me in the comments here. So this is Joe's questions. What different avenues can I go down to sell my online course? Hey, Joe, I'm not the best at this, but interestingly enough, during this COVID time, I do have friends that have started selling online courses. One has been doing it for years and years and years, and he used to make $8,000 a month selling his Photoshop courses online. So about $8,000 a month. He's been doing it for the last 2 years, but since COVID, he's been doing $120,000 a month on this Photoshop class, and he's been primarily doing it with Facebook and Instagram ads. So, short question. That's all I know on it. I just know he's just destroying it, which is pretty cool. So he spends a lot of his money on Facebook ads. and that's how he got his course out. Obviously, he has a really cool like video and a really cool like marketing pitch that he embeds on his like Facebook and his Instagram feeds. So it's a really well done video, and it gets you kind of excited to like learn how to do Photoshop. So I think that's really important too. But again, I tend not to answer things that I'm kind of naive to, so it's not my strong point. But hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight on what my buddy's doing at least. Next question is by Christopher, last name Joseph. Relationship question: how do I balance school and working and developing my business and having a relationship? I think this is probably a good question for pretty much all of us, right? I am in school full-time and I'm working on starting a business. And I'm wondering, what can I do to have balance and relationship at the same time? Should I stop the relationship and focus on me? Or is there a way to do it all? Okay, so first question you need to kind of ask yourself, actually not even kind of ask yourself, the first question that you need to ask yourself is, are all these things even worth it? Do I even want to do any of these things, right? Because sometimes, when I think about school and I think about it, these things, it's like, I'll be honest with you. Why did I go to school? Well, my dad's a physician. It's like I'm supposed to go to school. I got my undergrad degree and I got my master's degree. That's kind of what I'm supposed to do. So like, did it help me achieve things in my life? For the most part, I think it did. But did I really want to? Not really. And I'm not discouraging anybody, but you kind of have to try to figure out, is this something that I really want to do? Do I really want to be in this relationship, or do I feel like I have to be in this relationship? And the reason why I'm saying that is because, like, when you want to create something really spectacular and really successful, you can't be like, do I kind of want to do this or not? It's like you have to absolutely be obsessed and want to do it, and there has to be a burning desire in you. And that it happens with every aspect of our life, right? It's like, do I really truly want to be in this relationship? Do I have this burning like feeling in my gut that that's what I want to do? Do I have this burning feeling in my gut that I want to go to school? And is going to school or having that relationship or starting that business, is that going to actually, am I going to benefit? And are the rewards so great that I can't live without trying to make that happen? So that's what I ask myself, because I don't want to do anything. I actually call it something called true choice, right? Because it's my choice. It's my true choice, right? Rather than doing something, what I call false choice, where it's like, it's kind of, I have to do it, but I don't really want to do it, but I kind of have to do it. Like subconsciously, how much effort are you going to really put into something that you kind of feel like you have to do? So that you got to ask yourself that first. Like, do you want to really start a business? And if you do and it's successful, what are you going to feel and how is it going to look? And is it going to really invigorate you? Same thing with your relationship, same thing with school. Ask yourself that. Now, if you do decide, hey, all those three things I want, it's burning in my gut, I want to make this happen, it's going to benefit me long term, fantastic. Then you got to be really efficient with your time, right? If you think about it, all of us have 24 hours in a day. World leaders have 24 hours in a day. I'm guaranteeing you they're going to be much more busy than me or you. Why is it different? They're just much more effective with their time. People are really good at wasting time, right? They sit at the water cooler, they start shopping on Amazon. And if you really add all those things up, you're just dispersing so much time that you can be using to be more effective. So, what you need to do is, if you want to work on all three, one, you have to be super effective with your time. And during the time that you're having relationship time, or you're having build a business time, or you're having school time, you have to be maximized in that particular segment. You can't get distracted. You got to give it your all. If it's relationship time, like, I have a family, so it's like, if it's family time, 100% goes to the family time. If it's building the business time or working, 100% goes to that, right? If I'm trying to learn a new craft or something, 100% goes to that. If I'm working out, 100% goes to that, right? So it's like, not only do you have to manage you and your time efficiently, when you're actually doing the task, 100% needs to go to it. And obviously, we're not always going to be 100% all the time, but you better damn well try to get to 100%, because if you want to balance all these things out, and you want to be successful in all these different areas, you have to give it that amount of effort, right? And here's the great thing about it. Once you keep on doing that, you actually get really good at doing it, because it's like, anytime you do something new, it's really difficult at first, but once you continuously do it over months and months and months, then it becomes very natural for you to do it. So then you become more efficient, and it becomes subconsciously more efficient, where you're just doing it because that's how you're wired at that point. So you know, yeah, that's, yeah. Hope that helps. Corey asks the next question. How have you been able to overcome or prevent overthinking so you can get more done in each day? Okay, let me read that again. How have you been able to overcome or prevent overthinking so you can get more done each day? Right now, the rate at which I'm getting projects and daily tasks done is too slow. It's been hurting both my company's efficiency and ability to make money. At first, I thought it was a scheduling issue, but even if I have strict schedule, I'm not sure I would be able to work fast enough during my blocks of time because I constantly overthink the task itself. There are too many thoughts that run through my head to put here, but if I had to summarize them, they are all some form of, quote, am I doing this right way? Am I doing this the right way? End quote. So then it leads me to do more research, which leads me to analysis paralysis, and another day goes by without nothing meaningful getting done. Even this message is taking way longer than it should because I'm in the back of my head thinking, am I making sense? Am I leaving any important information out? Dang it. Now I'm behind on other things. I'd love to live in your mind for like a day and see what's going on. Hopefully that's enough context. Thanks for your help. Okay. Well, I think you know what's problematic at this particular point. Here's how I overcome overthinking: by doing, right? It's like you can always overcome overthinking and just by actually doing it, right? Taking action on the things that you're thinking about. I think generally when we overthink things, there's a lack of confidence that we have in ourselves because we're thinking we're going to make a mistake, we're going to look bad, you know, and all these different kinds of things. But the truth is, if you want to grow and if you want to get better, guess what? You're going to make mistakes. You're going to look silly. You're going to screw up on things. And that's going to be like more like 9 times out of 10. But the thing is, when you take action, right, it gets you into a mode of getting out of your thinking and actually trying something to see if it works or not, right? You can't, you know, and I think that right there is probably one of the biggest hindrances of starting a business or being successful in a business or entrepreneurship, right? Because the greatest distance between yourself and success is the amount of space between this ear and this ear, meaning that it's your brain that's really stopping you, right? Because we're constantly, does this work? Does this work? Does this work? Does this work, right? And a lot of times it's because we're lacking self-confidence in our own ability to accomplish a task, and we're lacking self-confidence in the fact that, okay, we're going to make a mistake. People are going to think I'm dumb. I'm going to look stupid, blah, 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 blah. And the truth is, we're going to look stupid. We're going to make mistakes. That's all part of it. And until you're able to actually embrace those things and really learn from those things, you're not going to get any better, right? You just got to, you know, for me, it's like, I don't know, I always make mistakes. I'm probably, I don't know, I think amongst all my friends, I might be the most unintelligent entrepreneur out of every single one. But you know what I'm great at? I don't care. I'm just going to do it. If I screw up, I screw up. Whatever. Then I know what not to do at that point, right? I think in my life, I've collected all these things of what not to do, that it's easier for me to figure out, okay, well, I haven't tried this, that might work, right? So again, you know, to try to get over that, to overcome that overthinking, is that you have to actually take action, right? So, you know, someone asked me, so when I came out of college, I was a personal trainer for 6 years. Then I started running fitness departments, like 24-hour fitness. I just recently went bankrupt. I ran pretty much all of Southern California. I had 100 trainers underneath me. And then they would lost my train of thought with this one, but I think the one, actually, here it is. The one thing that they would always ask is, what's the most effective way to lose weight, right? I think that the truth of the matter is all of us know how to do it. We just need to actually do it, right? It's like it's not rocket science. And it's the same thing with this. And so it's like, if you're overthinking, just go ahead and create action. So that's what I would do. Sometimes it's easier said than done, but you won't become comfortable with it until you actually start doing it, and then you learn how to be comfortable with it. Okay, moving right along. I think we're doing okay. We still got a bunch though, but okay. Jocelyn has this next question. If you were asked to be interviewed in a podcast, a Zoom, or a show, what are the things you would do to vet the show and the other person to make sure that they fit your brand, your morals, beliefs, and cultures? I am a sexual wellness intimacy coach. Adventurous Aphrodite focuses on adult workshops, private group coaching, and passionate parties. Neat. Okay, cool. Reason for the question: I'm leveraging myself as an authority expert. I have people constantly reaching out to me to have me on the show. Thank you. So I've been on like tons and tons of podcasts. Been interviewed I've been interviewed by a lot of publications. I used to write for Forbes as well. So when I'm asked to do an interview, what I do is I research the show. I research the person that's interviewing me. I listen to their previous podcast. And if they're in line with the genre that I am, right? I'm an entrepreneur, right? So like I'm not about to get on like a wellness or a vegan show or anything like that. I need to make sure it's like within my swim lane, because I'm only going to be talking about what I actually know, right? So I have to make sure that the genre of the podcast or the publication or the show or whatever I'm going to be on is within line of who I am and what my brand is, right? And also, after I do that research, I also want to, again, I mentioned that I listen to their other interviews because I want to see what kind of interview style that this particular interviewer has, right? There's some interviewers that are kind of like these gotcha guys where like they want to like kind of be controversial, and which is fine with me, but I don't like overly abrasive conversations if they're asking for my expertise. So like, and I've been in those situations, unfortunately, where I didn't research enough, and it became kind of like it became kind of confrontational and stuff like that, and I didn't like that. So I want to make sure that that's kind of ironed out before I go on there. And I also want to make sure that the speaker, the podcast, or whatever publication that I'm in isn't too overly controversial, right? Because you don't want to do anything to ruin your brand either, right? Yeah, that's just, that's pretty much the main things I look for. If all of them are in line, then I'll do the show. Okay, hope that helps, Jocelyn. Okay, moving right along. Let me just count how many we got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 more questions. Moving right along. After I'm done this, I'll say goodnight and we can all go to bed. Let's see. This is by Lisa. Here's where I'm stuck. What happens if you're drawn to an idea for a business but have no experience providing that business? I've been reading Entrepreneur Leap, and I've definitely had the traits of an entrepreneur. Every trait he went through, I could think of an example where I applied that specific trait. Going through the book, it talks about types of businesses. There are product or services, B2B, B2C, B2B, business to business, B2C, business to consumer, high end, low end. I'm assuming that's the price point of the product or service. I realized stood out to me is product and service, B2B, high end, as I am a stickler for quality over quantity. I am also answering all the questions at the end of the chapter and writing them down. It made me realize the type of company that I want, but now I'm stuck. Okay, you got kind of a couple things here. Product and services, those are two different kinds of selling styles. B2B and high end, which is usually, for me, it means high dollar, right? That increases the sales cycle. Selling to a business is very different than selling to a consumer. So, with all these kinds of intricacies attached, it's what I would suggest is explore whatever product, service, If you're going to do both, explore it thoroughly, right? I'm going to kind of give you an example. Think about dating someone, right? You might be really, really physically attracted to that person at first, and then after a few weeks, maybe a month or so, then you kind of figure out that guy's an ass, right? Or that girl's an ass, So what I mean by that is sometimes we're attracted to something really initially because of it looks nice and stuff like that, but when you get under the hood and you get into the nitty-gritty, they just turn into asses, right? So you want to make sure that you completely understand the product, the service, the business, the sales cycle, everything that's involved with this business completely. You want to make sure that is it viable in the marketplace? Is there a marketplace from it? I mean, if you're really, really passionate about VHSs, I mean, is there really a market for a VHS? I mean, so you want to look at all those things. And then you really want to be super critical about the things that you hate about the business, because I guarantee you're not with everyone that's in this program and with every entrepreneur I know, nobody likes it 100%. There's going to be things that we just absolutely hate, and it's just crappy to deal with. And you have to explore those too, and you have to kind of think to yourself and say to yourself, hey dude, am I okay with that? Am I okay with this, the crappy parts about the business? Because to be quite frank and to be honest with you, majority of the time you're going to be doing, if you want to start a business, you're going to be doing a lot of things that you do not want to do, right? So you have to make sure that you're really, really passionate about the things that you're doing, and you know it pretty well, right? Again, going back to the relationship thing, you're not going to get married to just anybody. You want to kind of try to figure them out. That's the same thing that I would do with this business. Is like whatever business that you want to start, I'm sure you would be a great entrepreneur, but whatever business you want to start, you need to research it fully and make sure that it's something that you want to do from a long haul perspective, because that's what it takes. Erica has the next question. What are the things that you have done to rid yourself of negative friendships and relationships? I have a cleaning business and an e-commerce store, looking to scale up into a real estate and marketing. I have previous friends and relationships, and when I tell them about what's going on in my life and my goals, they always seem to get negative and tell me I should go get a job at Walmart. Jeez. Or I think I'm better, or that I think I'm better than other people, or whatever. So they basically tell you to get a job at Walmart, or they start thinking that you're better than other people. It's really hurting my feelings. I'm trying to figure out how to overcome those feelings. Do I remove myself from those friendships, or what have you done to overcome these things in your entrepreneurial life? Man, I just stopped hanging out with them. I mean, stop hanging out with them, stop giving them my time. To be honest with you, if you got friends like that, why the hell would you hang out with those people anyway? I mean, being an entrepreneur is hard enough. There's just so many freaking obstacles trying to start your own business. I mean, literally, it's one of the hardest things I've ever done, is be an entrepreneur and start your own business. And if you have friends that are negative and really deteriorating your self-confidence, then I mean, the chances of you being successful is terrible. I think about it this way, right? Here I am in my house, in Irvine, and I have a dining room table there. I'm just not going to invite anybody over for dinner, right? I'm going to want to sit down with them and have a conversation with them and learn from them and add to their life and them add to my life, right? I'm not going to just have some person come over for dinner, right? I'm not going to make them dinner, cook them dinner, sit down and eat and break bread with them, and then tear me apart, right? So the premise of that, and why I'm saying that, is be careful of who you invite to your dinner table, right? If you're going to make the food, prepare the food, give them dessert, spend some time with them, make sure that you're spending some time with people that are going to enhance your life. So if these guys are telling you to get a job at Walmart, it's time to screw off. I mean, go find it. Here's the thing. As you go through your entrepreneurial journey, you're going to start building relationships, and those relationships are going to fit into your lifestyle a lot more that you can learn from. Don't ever add people into your life that's not going to support your life. Vice versa, don't get into somebody else's life if you can't add to their life either, right? So that's really important. So how to get rid of them? Just get rid of them. I mean, stop talking to them. Don't give them any time. That doesn't mean to say don't love them, don't care about them. If there's something that goes on with them and you need to visit them because they're sick, well then, I mean, that's what friends do. But if they don't support you from a day, and this includes family members, right? Because when I was starting my business, I mean, again, I'm a physician's son. I was supposed to be I'm supposed to be a doctor, or I was supposed to be a nurse, or I'm supposed to have a long-term job at a company that's stable. I started to go and do my own thing, right? I got crap from every single person that I ever done. That I got crap from. I'm going to fail. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And no one starts to support you until they start to get those rewards, those awards behind me, right? They just, so be careful of who you let into your circle while you're doing this, right? Make sure you get people that are supportive. And again, just, you don't have any time for that. Just, move on. Bell has the next question. Bell Donovan. So 2 questions. First, how do you develop a sales process and how do you develop sales process and sales and objective handling scripts for my business? Second question, as a new product business, is it a good idea to incentivize customers in order to make them longer term customers? We sell magic eyelashes both online and in person. I have never established a professional sales process with scripts. Do I do this myself online? And if so, do you have recommended resources, or should I maybe hire a coach to help me? And the reason I ask about incentives is because there are a lot of crappy products out there that people try and they hear about mine and are reluctant to purchase because of those crappy companies. What strategies to overcome that? Thank you so much. So when it comes to sales, I mean, this is a pretty detailed question that needs to be tailored to your particular business, right? Like if we're talking about, your business and mine, there are 2 completely different sales cycles, right? Where it seems like, you have a consumer-based product that's more transactional, where we're in consulting, so sometimes the sales cycle takes like about a year, and when we do land it, it's millions of dollars, right? So it's different, and mine's a service business, and yours is a product. So there's just different intricacies. So why I'm saying that is because yes, I would recommend you hiring a coach or a mentor. AO has I think Tom Black is still doing it, and he's phenomenal teaching it. I would see if I would get with Sean and see if you can get plugged in with their next sales training, right? I think it's super, super important. Sales is the lifeblood of a business. I don't care if there's one thing to be good at as being an entrepreneur, is knowing how to sell. And the truth of selling is it's not selling, it's how to influence people. Let me say that precisely. Sales is merely the ability to influence people to do things that's going to be better for them, right? So you don't want to sell things that are going to harm anyone, right? You're trying to enhance someone's life or to fix a problem. So it's the ability to influence people. So it is like the lifeblood. So I think it's really important to have a sales trainer, to go through sales training classes. That way you'll have a really wide variety of like different kind of strategies, so you can implement them to your exact business. What else you can do is buy books. Get on YouTube, try to figure out. I would gobble up every single information about sales and then see how it applies. Now, you're not going to like try to implement every single one. You're just going to try to figure out which one rings true to you and then tailor all that information. Like, you take that information, put it in a funnel and tailor it into something that's going to work for you, right? And then that becomes trial and error. But short of the, use as many resources as you can. And I would hire if you have the ability to do so, hire a coach, hire a good one, right? Again, Tom Black is probably one of the best, and so is Sean. So I would try to get with them. Second part of your question is, I'm going to read the second part of your question again. As a new product business, is it a good idea to incentivize new customers in order to make them a longer-term client? Okay, so you're talking about your eyelashes and stuff like that. It doesn't seem like it's a high price point item. It seems like there's a lot of like crappy products out there already, and you don't know which is a good one. Here's the truth. It doesn't matter how much you incentivize a customer if they don't like your product, right? So, I mean, like, I don't care if you give it to them half off. I'm not going to buy a t-shirt that I don't like half off. I don't care what price it is. Even if it's free, I probably don't even want it, right? So why I'm saying that is because this particular product, what I can see you doing is you give them a free trial. Like you buy one, and if they don't like it, it's like, guaranteed shipping, send it back, kind of like Amazon, right? I think everybody does that. Okay, I'm going to buy this, I don't like it, I'm going to ship it back. It's all free. There's no risk, right? But if I do like it, I'm going to keep it. Or you give one free, right? Because if you really want to stand out, give it to them for free, or give them to them with money back guarantee. Don't give them an incentive like you buy one, you get three free or anything like that. I actually hate those things, especially with this kind of price point item, is that I get it for free. If I like it, then you know what? If I really truly like it, I don't care how much it costs. If it's going to be better than the other eyelash product, then I'm gonna use it, right? So it doesn't matter if it's going to cost me $5, $3, whatever it is. So I would try to give them a money back guarantee, no questions asked, including the shipping, and give them one for free. And if they like it, then go for it, right? That's what I would do. Again, you can't incentivize. I mean, like at this particular thing, like I don't know what the price point is, but they're eyelashes. So like I wouldn't imagine they're thousands and thousands of dollars. So again, you can't. It doesn't matter how much you incentivize something if they don't like the product. So you have to get the product in their hands. If you can get the product in their hands, and if your product is truly superior than all the other products that you're talking about here, then the chances of them continuously buying is going to be high, right? Because if you said all the other products are crappy and yours is far superior, why wouldn't they go with a more superior product? But you have to get it in their hands, right? Okay, next question is by Adam, last name Drake. As I add people to my organization, how do I get everyone to fully utilize our CRM? This is our business, day in and day out. This is part of human resources. It's called change management. It's always a dilemma. I'll continue reading. I want high CRM usage. That's customer relationship management, particular software. Usage so I can utilize firm-wide data. I understand the benefit for me as the owner, but what is in it for the user spending time updating their CRM, or how can I convince them it is time well spent? I want to see if clients are being serviced, if our pipeline is growing, if our close rate is changing, and if our trends emerge, or if there's trends emerge. I own an investment advisory firm and manage a team of financial advisors. I'm doing training videos on CRM. So if I can get adoption, at least I know people will use the CRM correctly. We will be hiring an admin soon. Okay. Anytime you implement a new software, implement new policies, implement any kind of change, people go berserk. Right? They go berserk. Generally, financial planners are also salespeople. At the end of the day, salespeople do not like using any of these things because they want to get things done. It's not their nature, right? I've done this thousands and thousands of different times with hundreds of different salespeople. And not only hundreds of salespeople, our business is to implement hospital-wide electronic medical record systems that doctors and nurses have to use, right? Try to get a doctor or nurse to start to use a software that they don't want to use, right? All they want to do is treat the patient, be done with it. They got 1,000 different things going on already, right? So I know this particular problem, this particular incident, it happens all day long, and human beings are just absolutely resistant to doing these kinds of things because they don't see the value, right? And for me, after all these years of doing it, it's always been really difficult to show them the value, right? Just kind of across the board, like, people know the value of losing weight and staying healthy, but why the hell aren't they doing it, right? So what we've implemented is that you just make them do it. You make them do it. You make them as a part of it, and you keep them accountable. So first thing you want to do is you want to make sure you train them in a way. You train them on the system on how you want them to use it. Let me say that again. You want to train them in a way how you want them to use it, right? Because you're talking about obviously the CRM system is you're going to extract data. You're going to look at trends. You're going to see how many contacts you have. You're going to see like all the customers that are dormant, if they're being followed up. all these different things. That's what the CRM platform is for. So you can have a good snapshot of like what the heck is going on in the activity of your business. Because if people aren't putting that in, then you're not seeing the activity of your business. So obviously you want it. And again, obviously they don't want to put that in there because then they're held accountable, right? So the thing is, you just make them do it. Make sure that you train them on the way that you want it to be done, so you can utilize the information and you can make decisions based on the information that you're extracting from the CRM system. And you keep them accountable. So every time they don't do something, you go back and say, hey, you got to do this, right? Obviously, you want to do it professionally. But think of it this way. Not everybody likes to take a shower in the morning, get dressed for work, and go. But you kind of have to, right? Obviously, you're not going to go in there stinky and wearing your pajamas. You kind of have to do it, you know. So it's the same kind of principle. I know it's kind of funny that I say it that way, but to be honest with you, it's the same things we do with doctors. Again, doctors are probably the hardest people to get to use this system. I don't care. You salespeople are probably going to be 1,000 times. They are 1,000 times easier than physicians. We have to go there and train the physicians and make sure that they're using the software properly. Because if they don't, they're not interacting correctly with the other departments of the hospital. So it's the only way that we can get them to do it is constantly be on top of them until it becomes a habit, right? So that's what I would do. 2 things, really concise here. Make sure that you train them the way that you want the system to be used, and make sure that you keep them accountable for using the system. If there's something off, if they're not using it, if you don't see that there's data being put in there, and you got to make sure that the data integrity is good too, because CRM systems don't really work if the data that you plug into them aren't accurate. So all those things need to be held. You need to hold you need to hold your guys accountable for all those different things. All right, how long have I been doing this? Okay, 51 minutes. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions left. Okay, this is from Brad Coleman. Brad says, what do I do when an equity partner of mine isn't pulling their weight? I have a business partner who has some equity in my company. I feel like I'm still doing everything needed on a day-to-day startup process. How do I start a conversation that I need some help getting things off the ground without demanding help hurting the business relationship? Any advice on team building even when they don't work for you but with you? All right. Hey, Brad, I'm going to ask you something really quick. Equity partner. If they're an equity partner, right? The only weight that they're pulling is the money that they have given you, right? I'm an equity partner in countless companies, right? And the only thing that I've given them is my money. I'm not a managing partner, right? So like I don't have any management responsibilities, nor did I even want some. I just gave them my money. I thought their business was great, and they have to produce a return for me, right? So that's a true definition of an equity partner. So like if that is the case, if you truly have an equity partner, then I don't know, and that's the relationship that you establish with them, that, hey, you're going to be an equity partner, you're not going to have any management duties or any say in the direction of this. I don't know how you can have that conversation. I mean, if he or she wasn't established as an advisor or anything like that, I'm not sure how that conversation is. I mean, if that's the case, then you might want to gently have that conversation and say, hey, I need some support, and just be quite honest with them. Now, if they're a managing partner, that's a whole different story, because they have bottom line responsibilities for that company. So I don't know exactly what it was. But if it is a managing partner and they do have management responsibilities for your company, then you have to have a direct and a thorough conversation with that person, right? Being nervous about talking to somebody that's truly your partner is not going to help your business, and it's not the foot that you want to lead into. You have to have open communications all the time, the good, the bad, and the ugly when you're dealing with a business, especially with a partner, right? Because it's really important. So again, if they do have management duties, then I would have a direct conversation with them. If they're truly an equity partner, then that's more of an ask than anything else. Hopefully that answers your question there. Okay, next question is Law Jackson. What strategies have you used to manage your time and manage all the demands of your time as your company grows? I have a creative shop that does marketing videos, animated explainers. I work for a marketing agency as their animation specialist, and I work with startups. Usually the team is just me. I'm trying to build a proper organization that does not bottleneck on me, but I'm just now trying to come out of freelancer mode. Okay. Gotcha. Okay, so you're asking how I manage my time. I'm going to break it down into 4 different things. This is how I did it, right? First thing is I manage me and how I use my time, right? There is this thing that people call time management. It does not exist. You can't manage time. There's 60 minutes in an hour. There's 24 hours a day. You can't manage that, right? It's like the weather. You can't say, okay, don't rain. So the only thing that you can manage is you manage yourself and how you utilize that time. So again, I think everything starts with us, right? So like if I have a finite amount of time and it's 24 hours a day, then how do I become as efficient in 10 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, an hour a day? How do I become more efficient? It was a question that was asked earlier, is that, you know, we as human beings are really great at wasting time because we think it's infinite, and we don't focus and we don't put 100% in the efforts and the task that is at hand. And if we don't do that, then we're not utilizing our time effectively. So number one is to manage, for me, is to manage me and how I utilize that time and my relationship with that time, right? And my intensity of the task during that particular time. That's number one. Number two, obviously, you can't do everything possible. Your cup is only so big, and you can only hold so much in that particular cup. After a while, it's going to start overflowing, and you're just not going to be efficient. And then it becomes really, really frustrating. So what I do from that particular point, or what I have done, or what I do now, is that I have an assistant, right, that I transfer a lot of my administrative duties to. The things that I don't need to be dealing with, I transfer to her, right? The third thing that I do is I use technology to automate some of my tasks, right? So like, you know, like as simple as like the calendar app, you know, that's really, really easy to use rather than trying to figure out a time. Here's, you know, let's set up an appointment. Here it is, right? And that actually takes time away from that takes time off of my assistant too, so she can deal with a lot more of the other things that I need her to do. The fourth thing that I did as my company grew is I hired managers. I hired managers and directors and VPs to handle. So like, you know, I'm the CEO, I'm the owner of the company. So my job is the strategic vision of the company to push that company forward, so my job and your job as the leader of your company as you grow, or anyone as a leader of the company, is how do you continuously keep that business growing for the long term, right? Because that's our responsibility. Not the tactical things in the very beginning, but what is our game plan in a year from now? When do we start implementing that? What's our 5-year game plan? That's as your company grows, you need to be the strategic head of the business. So what I started to do is hire managers so they can handle the tactical sides of the business and the operational sides of the business, right? Because like as a CEO or as a leader of your organization, you shouldn't necessarily be bogged down with the operational things of the business. You should be able to take a snapshot. That's why you have meetings. You go over what the financials are, what's happening with the operations, what's happening with sales, and then you start to give direction to them. But you don't have to handle that day by day. So having managers handle your operations and your tactical aspects of the business, such as sales, or in my case, recruiting, or finance, or accounts payable, or whatever, that's going to help me focus on what I need to do and how I need to grow the business in the next year, the next 2 years, or 5 years, or what have you. So those are my 4 steps. Manage you, hire an assistant, use technology to automate a lot of your systems, and then, you know, as you grow, hire managers to handle your the operational and the day-to-day tactical sides of your business. Okay, next question is from Eric. How do I get my team to be involved in the business and give me ideas instead of always telling them what to do? I have a very unique business that most likely requires technicians who are more street smart than book smart, and I have to train them how to do what we want to do. So I need to hire people who need a job and are willing to get dirty as they set and create traps for rats and mice. I need to be able to instill these individuals our culture and groom them to think and get creative when they are probably never done this. What are the things that I can do to build this team and create a culture, the culture I want as a company? Okay. Gotcha. Well, here's the first thing. At the end of the day, they're people regardless of what they're doing, right? Every single person has an idea, a thought, everything. I mean, here's how I frame it, right? I don't care what they do, what profession they have, if they're a physician or if they set mousetraps for people, right? I always view them as something that can add, and that's just a mindset for me. The guy doing the warehouse job could have as much effect and as much ideas that can help my company than anyone else. That's my mindset first. I'm just kind of throwing that out there to have that kind of mindset first, right? So how do you get them more involved? It's simply you ask them, right? I think especially at the level of employees that you're having here, I think we have I don't know, 25 or so warehouse employees up in Washington and Oregon. And so I've been dealing with light industrial guys all the time, and it's like sometimes they don't feel like they have a say; they just kind of do their job. But the truth is, like, no one's ever really asked them because they do have a voice. So the thing is, like, you have to, if you want to establish a culture where people are participating in actually the ideas and how to move the business, is you have to establish an environment that supports that. And how you support that is you sit them down and you ask them, hey, so what do you like about your current duties? How do you think you can make it more effective? What do you think that what do you see, and what are your ideas on how to make this business more successful, right? How to make this company more successful? How do we be better than our competition? Ask all the questions that you have in your mind, that's looming in your mind. Sit them down and ask them about it and see what they say. Some of those ideas would be valid, and some of those ideas would be kind of crazy. But what you're doing there is you're establishing a culture of openness. You're establishing a culture of vulnerability. You're establishing a culture of contribution, right? You're letting them feel that they can actually have a say and there's an impact. And I guarantee you, even if their ideas are harebrained, and God knows I've heard thousands and thousands of crazy ideas that will never work. Just the fact that you're building a culture of contribution and they feel that they're a part of something and they feel that they have a say will drastically improve the performance of your business, right? So first of all, again, just ask them, and another trick is start doing some team building activities that have nothing to do with the business. Go play baseball, kickball, play chess, I don't know, do something, go bowling, right? You want them to interact and work together outside of a work function or a work task, so they can become more comfortable with them. Because when you're working, there's natural barriers already. There's natural barriers of like professionalism or what you have to have when you're working together. But when you remove that little barrier and that aspect, and you get them into like kind of gameplay or something that's more recreational and fun, you'll start to see that they start to gel a little bit more. And again, that's not always true. Sometimes they don't. But at the same, but the majority of the time, it gets them out of that mindset so they can be closer together. And once you do that, once again, you have that environment of letting them be vulnerable until you give them ideas, foster that, and foster a team building activity so they can get more comfortable. The truth is, the more comfortable that you can get, let me preface that, the more comfortable and productive you can get people to be, right? You can't just get them to be comfortable and then become lazy, but the more comfortable and productive you can be, the better functioning your business is gonna run. Okay. Marlena Carter asks the next question. Is it acceptable to let an employee go due to negative mindset? I have a pet groomer who is a pretty good groomer, but 3 of 4 statements that come out of her mouth are negative, no matter the topic. Negative. I'm a positive person by nature, and I can find a silver lining in every single situation, and the complaining really annoys me, and it really annoys the piss out of me after a while. Is that enough reason to let her go, or is it best to keep her for the growth of the business and maybe have a blunt heart-to-heart? Okay, just simply ask, is it acceptable to let an employee go to a negative mindset? Yeah, absolutely. You can let an employee go for whatever reason. That is probably one of the biggest. And you know what? Depending on how many employees you have, I honestly don't care if I have the best salesperson that brings in the most revenue. If they're toxic, and I don't want them anywhere around me, right? Those people are replaceable, right? Because it's just bad. It just deteriorates the company. If you do decide to terminate, then this is kind of for all of you guys. If you do decide to terminate anyone, there is a process that you need to follow so you don't get any kind of weird lawsuits that are happening to you. Make sure you document any kind of communication that you have that is course corrective of their behavior, course corrective of their action. Make sure that if you do document and have them sign it, put it in their personal files, right? Because if you do want to go back, it's my HR stuff talking to you. Hopefully this is beneficial. If you do have those conversations, again, you need to document them, have them sign it, put them in their employee file. So if anything happens, here you go, right? Yeah. So anyway, it's important to have. It's important to let them go if they're not. The follow-up stuff here about again, it's pissing you off. Holy crap! It's you said it. It's really annoys the piss out of me. If something annoys the piss out of me, I'm gonna let them go, right? You asked another question, is it best to keep her for growth? It depends. I don't know. Have you talked to her before about it, or him, or whatever? If you have talked to them about it and they're still continuously doing it, then let them go. But if you find it in your heart and you've never talked to them, you just kind of got passive aggressive and you're just getting pissed off and not saying anything about it, well then quite frankly, I think you owe it to them to say, hey, here's how I'm seeing things, and if you want this relationship to continue, then we need to kind of change this, right? Again, document. But if you haven't addressed it and you're just firing them, then that's no good either. Because I don't know, maybe they feel that they can be that way with you, or maybe they could just, I don't know. So, yeah, answer your question. Yeah, if it's annoys the piss out of you, yeah, there's no problem. Just document it. Okay. Oh, we're on the last one, guys. We're on our last one. Allison Ko Yang Nagi. She asked, would you recommend self-funding or getting an investor for a new product-based business? I own a digital marketing agency, last name pronounced Koyanagi. In parentheses, she says, I know it's a tough one. I have an idea for a new business. The only problem is that I've never created a product from scratch. I run a few of the numbers, not all, to get a prototype made and possibly profit margin and so forth. There is definitely a market for this. And although I don't want to say anything specific, it falls into the health and fitness industry. It'll be worth it to create it, but I'm not sure if I should self-fund this project or get an investor, especially around the COVID time, because I'm being really tight with spending. Okay. To answer your question, would you recommend self-funding or getting an investor? Yes and yes. Okay. Almost every single business is bootstrapped at first. It's all self-funded, right? And then when they go through their next round of fundings, they call them the FNFs, which is friends and family, right? When you start getting, if you have a concept, it's absolutely difficult. If you just have a concept like this and it's not really drawn out. Nowadays it's pretty difficult to get any kind of like institutional investing or like any kind of like angel investing unless you know them, because they're banking on you. So, would I recommend self-funding? Yeah, I mean, that's how most businesses are. That's, I bootstrap my business. I'm still bootstrapping the business. I'm never taking a dime of investment or a loan. We just grew slowly and, we grew wisely and, we spent well and we got a lot of cash reserves. So that's how I did it. I think that's a question you're asking. I mean, I'm kind of reading into the rest of it. Yeah. If I was in your spot, here's probably what I would do. I would self-fund it. I mean, if you truly 100%, because here's the deal, right? I'm an investor. So the thing is if you're going to come to me for money, I'm going to want to know how much you put into the business as well, right? Because if you don't have skin in the game, why am I putting my skin in the game, right? And also, I want to make sure that it's well thought out and if the product is working. Because, and I would do the same as someone that's building a product as well. I would want to make sure that, is there a marketplace for it? Is it viable? Because I don't want to be taking anybody's money. Because my job, the responsibility that you have when you take investor money is to make sure that you return them the profit. Let's get real, guys. No one's going to ever believe in your business as much as you believe in your business. No one's ever going to like embrace your product, your service, your mission as much as you. If an investor gives you money, they want money back, right? So you want to make sure that when you have this product, is it viable? Is it working? Or how is it going to, it looks like it's in the health and fitness industry. Is it going to be disruptive? What's the, you got to get all your costs in line. What's your customer acquisition cost? How much is it going to be? When is the rate of, when are they going to get a return? When are they going to get their money back? All those kinds of different things. So, yeah, I know that's kind of a long-winded question. It's a question that we can go in like 1,000 different directions. But just to answer your question very concisely and shortly here is, I would recommend that you bootstrap the product until you get your working MVP, which is your minimum viable product, which you're doing right now, which is a prototype. Get that MVP out. Make sure you do your using testing. Make sure you go out and get user data in the market to see if it's viable and to see what they think, right? So there's a process when you're building products, right? I don't know what it is. I don't know what software. Generally, you get the product to that MVP level, and then you take it out for user testing, and you take it out for user research. They play with the item, they play with whatever it is, and see how they feel about it. Then you start tweaking it, and then you get into a prototype. Your prototype is basically your last working order that is basically ready for production. It's right there. So I would bootstrap it until you can get it to like a prototype that can go into production. And if that prototype works and it's like, hey, you got all the things kinked out, then start going for investments. But that's my opinion on that. With that being said, hey, we got through all of it. Thanks for hanging out with me for 1 hour and 10 minutes. I really enjoyed it. Other than that, I'll be back on next month. Yeah, throw your questions out. If you have any questions, just shoot me a message. I'm not always on Facebook, but shoot me a message on Facebook. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. But other than that, stay incredible, stay awesome. Keep on crunching. I know it's. I'll leave you with this. I know it's a very difficult time for everyone. I mean, I'm in employment, right? So like. My job is to employ people. I have thousands and thousands of customers right now laying off. When COVID hit, we had a 30% reduction in our top line revenue just off the bat over one day. But we didn't give up, and I think this particular time there's a lot of opportunity to reinvent yourself and to work harder, right? Most of the time, a lot of the glory is not made during the upswing of an economy. It's during the really difficult times in the economy. And, we did a really great job pivoting. Not to say that we weren't pivoting like way prior to COVID hitting, but we pivoted and it hit. And again, we're 700% up on our top line revenue from the beginning of COVID, and we're going nuts. So just keep on working at it. I know a lot of people are struggling. Understand that the money hasn't disappeared for the business that you have. It just exchanged hands, so you have to pivot towards where the money's at, right? With that being said, hey guys, have a fantastic rest of your week. Make sure you're incredibly productive and kicking ass. All right, see you guys later.